What's up guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Gabrielle if you're new here, and today we are doing my summer makeup routine. After 19 years of life, I've got this down to a science, and I'm here to share with you the easiest, simplest, most breathable, most gorgeous makeup. Let's get into it. I've got my face prepped. I always start with a clean, moisturized base. I use Coco Kind Cleanser, Ceramide Barium Serum, and I use their Peptide Moisturizer. If I'm doing a makeup list day, I also use their SPF, but today since we're doing makeup, I use the e.l.f. Sun Touchable Sunscreen. This has a 30 SPF in it. It doubles as a primer, which is great for the summer because the less layers, the better. This stuff is really good for day-to-day wear, but if you're going for a full glam, heavier look, I would not recommend because it is not the most sticky, tacky primer I've ever used in my life. Then I use the e.l.f. Soft Glam Satin Foundation. I believe this is a BB cream. It is so lightweight and it really melts into your skin so well. Then I take a wet beauty blender and just dab it into the skin. I will preface my makeup routine by saying everything in this routine is very affordable. I got most of it at Walmart. It's mostly drugstore brands. So if you're looking for affordable glam, this is a great video for you. Foundation's on. As you can see, it's pretty medium coverage. You can still see some texture on my skin, but it did get rid of all of the uneven skin tones. If you're looking for something a little bit more full coverage, I really like Glossier's foundation. As you can see, it is almost gone. This is very pigmented and I would say a pretty heavy coverage, but also very breathable. Next, I use the e.l.f. Camo Concealer. This is in the shade Fair Warm. I always like to go a shade or two lighter than my foundation for my concealer. I just place it like so on my face. I always go definitely on the bags of my eyes and then on the outer edge of my eyes so I can blend up and give more of a lifted feel. Right in my T-zone, I like to highlight my nose so that way I can contour it a little bit easier. And then lastly, I just take a small bit over my red spots, my pimples. I've always been told to go a little bit lighter on the pimples because it's easier to blend it in. Otherwise, it's just like a bright spot on your face. I always start by blending in an outward motion, and I kind of create this harsh line coming from my outer eye up to my hairline. I like to drag it down just a little bit to soften it out, and then I take whatever's left and go over my eye with it so that way my eyeshadow pops a little bit more on my eye. Okay, now that the base is done, it's time for the fun stuff. I'm pretty much obsessed with this e.l.f. Halo Glow contour. I have struggled to find a good liquid contour for forever, but I actually really like this stuff. Mine is in the shade Tan Deep. It is very pigmented, so I kind of use it sparingly. I always do a dot or two right here and match it on the other side. And I just start with that so that way it doesn't dry to my skin. Then I do right below my neckline and I kind of contour up into my ear. And then I just blend the excess down my neck to blend the color in. Time for the nose contour. And it is a little bit harder to do it with the liquid contour, but I kind of just try to shape it a little bit tinier than my actual nose line is. And then I make this little circle around my nose. I do the initial contouring with my finger. Boom, isn't it cute? I love a little nose contour, especially in the summer because it kind of gives like burnt nose vibes. I was so skeptical of this blush because I've been a Glossier Cloud Paint girly since literally like 8th grade when I first ordered it. But that being said, I just wanted to try something from e.l.f. So I went ahead and got this Camo Liquid Blush. I was even nervous with the color because I'm more of a red blush girl, but guys, it's perfect, especially for summer. It gives like sunburn and it's really cute. But I just do a couple of swipes kind of in between the apple and the high bone of my cheek. I use the bottom of my beauty blender to kind of drag it out towards my ear. And then I take some and put it like around this curve to my upper forehead. And then whatever's left, I take it, I put it right on the pocket of my eye. Everything else that's on the blush, I use below the cheekbone to give more of a sweet look than like a snatched look. And then I just take the side of my beauty blender and kind of dip it right where I blended my concealer to blend everything a little more seamlessly. After I blended my two cheeks, then I just take whatever's left over and do a couple of pats on my nose. For the final step on my face, I use Halo Scope from Glossier. This is a stick highlighter. I really do like this stuff. It blends in really nice. It gives you like a kind of like a sweaty glow, but I think that it's really nice for summer. I just rub it up on my cheekbones. I do a couple of swipes and kind of dab it into that crescent on my forehead. I do the same on the other side and I blend that in with my fingers. After I blend into the cheeks, then I do my nose and my brow bone. So I really cake it on the little tip of my nose. I do just a swipe on the bridge of my nose. Just a couple swipes right underneath my brow bone here. And I take my ring finger and dip it into the pot, put it on the inner corner of my eye. Now I move on to the eyes, my favorite part of the whole routine. I use a big fluffy brush. I kind of change up what eye color I do almost every day. I rotate between a couple though. Go-to favorite is actually a lot cooler than most of the warm makeup tones I put on my face so far, but it is from this Fenty Beauty palette. And I mean, I have worn her out, so I don't really know what the name is of it anymore, but it's just this like gray brown right here. It looks so nice, especially if I'm going to work where I'm a server, because everything's a little bit dimmer and inside. It's kind of more of my go-to like going out in the summer look. If I'm just going shopping for the day, I kind of keep it a little bit brighter. I use this Glossier palette, and I like to use this pretty neutral like burnt orangey tone on my eye. Something about the Glossier eyeshadows is that they blend so nicely. There's none of that like chunking up on your eye. I don't really know how to explain it. It coats pretty evenly and you don't have any like little patchy spots. So I really like that. However, I would say that my most frequently used daytime eyeshadow is actually out of this like sample package that I got. It's a bronzing duo. I like to use kind of a bronzer color on my eyelids because it looks pretty natural and blends everything super nicely. I tend to go for this darker, a little bit more brown shade. And I just pat a very fluffy brush into it and work it on the outer corner of my eye. And then I just sweep it right underneath my eye as well. But I just think it makes the eye stand out a little bit more than this one that looks a little bit washed out. Sometimes to add a little bit of a pop, I like to take just a powder highlighter and I take my ring finger into it. I dab it into my inner corner and then I just blend it out onto the lid of my eye. And it's really subtle, but it's cute. I am a brows last kind of girl. Well, I'm a mascara last, but brows is one of the last things that I do. I cannot imagine doing my brows first. I don't understand how people do that. I use this e.l.f. brow lift. I will say, boy brow is always gonna be my favorite. I mean, that is amazing. Sometimes it's on the budget, you feel? So I actually just use my boy brow spoolie because I'm pretty sure the spoolie is my favorite part. I feel like most brow gels have a very wide spoolie, like almost as big as a mascara stick, and you can't like concentrate in the little corners of your eyebrow. But I just take a small dip from the brow gel. I just get about that much on. Take some and spread it into both eyebrows, and then I start working. I go for like a soap brow adjacent type look. I don't like when they're like sticking straight up, but I kind of curve them to the side and brush them enough so that they are kind of like the centerpiece of the whole look. My eyebrows desperately need a little tweeze, but so time consuming, you know? This mascara is the best mascara I've ever used. It is Maybelline Sky High. I get it in the shade Blackest Black. I also like Midnight Black. I have wasted hundreds of dollars on high-end mascaras, but this stuff is just as good. It stays on better than most, and I'm a really, really, really big fan. I definitely do a couple of coats of mascara, and I try and focus on the tips, not the base, so that way it keeps that curved shape. I'm just building longer lashes, not thicker lashes, as I don't want this look to be too heavy at all. And I do a little swipe of the tips of my lower lashes. Again, not getting too close to that waterline. Like, wow. My eyes are done, and it really like brings the whole look together. For my lips, I don't do anything crazy. I actually just use a Glossier Bomb.com. I'm usually a hot cocoa or strawberry bomb.com girl. Love those colors, but honorable mention to Wild Fig. She also has a great little pigment. I don't usually line my lips. I don't usually use any lipstick. I just like to be applying my balms all day because they have a tint to them. Continue to convey that natural, like glossy, glowy feel. And as a bonus, they're hydrating. You're getting a little skincare in too. I feel like this is the perfect amount of pigment. It complements the like pink blushy little makeup look so well. And you can totally stop here. In fact, most nights that I'm working or if I'm just going out for like a little trip to the store, I kind of keep it here. But if I know that I need to make this makeup last, I'm gonna have it on all day, then I do use a little bit of powder. This is the Fit Me Loose finishing powder. I swear by this stuff. I've used it for years. It is perfect. I am in theater and it keeps my makeup on through the entire show when I'm sweating and disgusting. But you do have to be careful with the way that you apply it since you're trying to go for more of a glossy feel. You don't want to like have these stark powdery bits that don't have any reflection, but then the rest of your face is glowing really nicely. You can use a beauty blender or a brush. Just tap into enough powder and I evenly distribute it enough beneath my eyes Some little swipes around the nose contour, and I just kind of pat it in. Never brush, always tap. We are not baking this powder on, we are just setting it on. I go in with a little bit more and I tap underneath my cheekbone to like reinforce that contour I put there so long ago. And lastly, I take the smallest bit and just put it right in my T-zone. We're not giving oily, we're just giving glowy and reflective. And boom, your makeup is complete. You need to reinforce anything after powder. Make sure that you use powder products. You don't want to stack liquid on top of powder. Powder on top of liquid is okay. I think that this makeup look is so perfect to be dressed up for brunch, if you're going out with your girls. If you do a little bit of a darker eyeshadow, it can be a night look as well. But it takes me about 10 minutes. I can do it like in a snap when I have to get ready super quickly. These products are some of the only products I've found that just like do me right every single time. So don't sleep on e.l.f., don't sleep on Maybelline, get your ass to Walmart. I'm gonna go take some pictures for this thumbnail. But thank you guys so much for tuning in today. Don't forget to drop a like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends. Thank you so much for your support. And if you made it this far in the video, I really appreciate you. Honorable mention to Easton, because I'm in his room. My room has some earwigs in it. Full of earwigness. And that is probably my biggest fear on this planet is an earwig. So I'm not touching that thing ever again. I will see you guys Friday. Have a beautiful rest of your week.